They say the suburbs are quiet, safe, maybe even boring. But the truth? The truth is that out here, past the picket fences and the HOA newsletters, you'll find some of the wildest battles ever fought. Not with fists, not with lawyers, well, sometimes lawyers, but with sheer absurdity and, in my case, a helicopter. It all started on a Tuesday. And I remember that not because it was anything special, no birthdays, no holidays, but because it smelled like melting plastic, pine needles, and doom. I was on my patio sweating through my shirt, squinting at the manual for what was supposed to be the holy grail of backyard cooking, a Grilltech Ultra Pro 5500. Stainless steel panels, 112 pages of gibberish, and me electrying to figure out if Part D12 Bravo was the same thing as D12B, or if I just voided my warranty. I'm a project manager by trade. Logistics, chaos, impossible deadlines. I eat that stuff for breakfast. I've had to helicopter vegan sushi to a mountaintop wedding before. I once figured out how to hoist a 72 Airstream onto the roof of a shopping mall. You give me a crisis, and I'll give you a Gantt chart and a solution. That's what I do. That's all I've ever wanted to do. And after a decade of juggling insanity, I thought I'd earned a quiet life. House, fence, yard, neighbors who don't talk much. What I didn't count on was Diane. Diane Van Cleve, president of the Stone Hollow Estates HOA. She didn't run the neighborhood, she ruled it. Like a dictator in yoga pants with a label maker. Her lawn was a literal emerald rug, trimmed to military precision. Her porch had more flags than a United Nations summit. Her email signature had 5 titles and a motto, "Order brings beauty." And me? I was just the guy who wanted to install a hot tub without submitting blueprints in triplicate. That morning, as I tried to align the grill's rotisserie with a bolt the size of a toddler's finger, a gust of hot, dry wind hit my face. And that's when I smelled it. Not just pine, but something older. Smokier. Wrong. I looked toward the eastern ridge. The sky was changing from California blue to something sickly. Brown. Orange. Almost sepia-toned, like an old photo being burned in slow motion. That's when I heard Carl next door call out. "You smell that too?" Carl's a good guy, retired firefighter, lawn-obsessed, harmless. The kind of guy who trims his hedges with a ruler and checks his smoke detectors monthly. I nodded. "Yeah," I said. "And it ain't your barbecue." We both stared at the hills, watched as smoke billowed upward like a slow-motion apocalypse. The news called it the Meadow Ridge Fire, and it wasn't far, maybe 5 miles upwind. Then came the reverse 911 call. "Evacuation, add VY sorry. Keep valuables ready. Keep the emergency route clear." That last part stuck with me. The emergency road. A simple dirt track at the end of our cul-de-sac, wide enough for a fire truck or a panic-stricken Prius. Our lifeline. I didn't think much of it until Carl came back, pale and jittery, holding his phone. "You see this?" he asked. It was from Diane. Subject line: Urgent HOA landscape notice. She was upset, furious, really, about the dirt track. Said the dust was ruining her award-winning petunias, unbalancing her lawn's pH. Said the HOA had voted to take immediate action. And by action, she meant concrete planters. Big ones. And a decorative white picket fence. Right across our only emergency exit. Now look, I'm a patient man. Mostly. But that was the moment something inside me broke. Not my temperno, that stayed calm. What snapped was the little voice in my head that says, "Be reasonable." It took a seat. And the other voice, the one that plans weddings in war zones and once arranged a drone airlift of 600 tacos, stood up. I put down the grill wrench and walked toward the blockade. Diane was there, in a beige linen suit, supervising 2 workers as they heaved in the stone planters like they were building the Parthenon. "Diane," I said, calmly, "you're blocking a fire road." She didn't turn, just waved her clipboard like it was a sword. "This is an emergency beautification initiative," she replied. "The dust is killing the begonias. Begonias don't matter if the whole street's on fire." She turned then, narrowed her eyes. "We voted," she said. "Who voted?" "The board." "You're the board," Diane. And I voted, she said, smiling unanimously. I looked at the barricade, looked at the sky. The smoke was closer now. Ash started falling like sad gray confetti. And I realized this wasn't a problem I could solve with a sternly worded email or a crowbar. This was going to take something bigger. Faster. EVYR. I pulled out my phone, scrolled to a contact I hadn't used since a music festival disaster in Nevada. Dave whatever it takes McKinley. Pilot. No last name on the business card. Just Aerial Solutions whatever, whenever. He picked up on the second ring. Tell me you're not stuck on a roof again, he said. Nope, I said. This time it's suburban warfare. That I'm listening. I need a water drop. Precision. High impact. Not for a fire, for a fence. You're starting a cult? No. I'm unblocking a fire road. With style. He was quiet for a moment. I could hear rotor blades in the background. You want hydraulic demolition via Bambi bucket? Exactly. He sighed. I've got a K-Max sitting at Hawthorne. Ugly bird, but she can carry 1,500 gallons. That enough? More than enough, I said. Make it rain. The plan was simple. Drop 12,000 pounds of water directly onto Diane's masterpiece. The execution? Well, that took 20 minutes and every ounce of chill I had left. Neighbors gathered. Carl paced like a dad waiting for news from the delivery room. Diane stood across the street, still holding her phone like it could stop a helicopter. This is coercion, she yelled. You'll hear from my attorney. And I smiled, because I could already feel the vibrat ion in the ground. When the K-Max crested the hill, it looked like an angry dragonfly dragging a bright orange bucket of doom. The rotor wash hit first, sent wind chimes flying, flattened patio umbrellas. Kids screamed. Dogs barked. Diane froze. Then the bucket tilted. What came down wasn't a spray. It was a waterfall from God. A 15,000-pound slab from the sky. The planters exploded like popcorn. The picket fence vaporized. Mud, petals, and chunks of decorative stone flew in every direction. And Diane, our iron-fisted queen, stood in the center of it all, soaked, speechless, and smeared in mulch like a statue of irony. Then, silence. Only the slow drip, drip, drip of water from trees. And then, a rainbow. I swear to you, a real one. 10 minutes later, the fire truck showed up, took one look at the now clear road and drove straight through. The captain waved. Thanks for clearing the path, he said. That's when the cops arrived. 2 squad cars. Confused. Cautious. One officer Miller looked like he'd seen every kind of suburban nonsense. The other Schmidt looked like he was about to tweet the whole thing. So, Miller said, you dropped a bucket of water on a fence. I dropped a solution on a problem, I corrected him. Hydrokinetic clearance. Totally legal. Diane was still trembling, mascara running, voice cracking. He tried to drown me. Miller stared at the wreckage, then at me. He looked like a man trying to decide between paperwork and a nap. And then, like DVYNE punctuation, the fire captain leaned out his truck. You guys saved us 10 minutes. That road. Total game changer. That was it. The nail. The mic drop. Miller turned to Diane. Ma'am, obstructing emergency access is a serious charge. She sputtered. Schmidt clicked his pen. They took her in. And that was the last day she ruled Stone Hollow Estates. The HOA board resigned. One of them handed me a cupcake at the next meeting and said, thank you for your service. Somebody nominated me to be president. I politely declined. I had burgers to grill. Now, I sit on my patio. The grill tech works like a dream. Carl's a regular guest. The new neighbors don't even own a lawnmower, and I love them for it. Every so often, a kid on a bike slows down in front of my house, whispers something to his friend. They look up at the sky. The legend grows. And me? I just smile, take another bite of my burger, and remind myself of one simple truth. You can't fix every problem with a helicopter. But sometimes it's the only thing that works. Now, tell me how it you saw have done? Let me know in the comments below. Would you stand up to your HOA if it meant risking it all? Or would you play by the rules until the whole block went up in smoke? Like, share, and drop your story down there at You Got a Cold Beer and all the time in the world to read it.